Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Zoo School Live. My name is Laura, and today we're going to be meeting with a really special ambassador animal who's relatively new to our zoo. If you guys have had a chance to come out and visit us on site, you may have noticed we have a new animal on exhibit, but she's technically an ambassador, which means she's going to be helping us with educational programming in the future. So her name is Dottie, and Dottie is a South American Coati. And what we're going to do in just a moment is actually let Dottie explore her exhibit. If you look around, you might notice that we have a lot of fun toys kind of set up. We have different things hanging in different areas. We have little tubes and some fun pumpkins, so that we're seasonally prepared here. We have little containers, and in all of these different items, which we call enrichment, we actually have hidden some of Dottie's diet, some of her food. And we're going to talk about why we do this as we let her explore and run around. So just like other Zoo School Live episodes, if you guys come up with any questions, anything you want us to answer on the live air, feel free to put them in the comments and we will go through them at the end. If you guys are watching this later on, you're still welcome to put in those comments, your questions, and we'll check back on them later. All right, so I'm actually going to hide a little bit more food for Dottie. She's very impatiently waiting for us to let her out. So Dottie is an omnivore, so that means she eats a mixture of fruits and vegetables, insects, and different animals. And here at the zoo, we feed her a lot of fruits and veggies, as well as some protein. So today I actually have some apples, little bits of dog kibble, and she's also getting raw chicken. So that's one of her favorite proteins, along with hard-boiled eggs and ground up meat. So I'm going to hide some of this, and we're going to see if she can find it. So we use enrichment a lot here at the zoo. We've talked about it for so many of our other animals. Enrichment is a good way of keeping them active. So Dottie in the wild would be climbing trees and using her nose to find her food. So we want to replicate that here at the zoo. We want her to use that nose and use her body to exercise and find food rather than just giving it to her in a big plate. So I'm just going to hide some pieces of snack here. She's already got a lot of food hidden pretty much everywhere else. And hope that she uses that sniffer to find it and get herself moving around and active. All right, so I'm going to let our friend Dottie out. She's very excited. Come on out, Dot. So you'll get your first look at our Coati. So Coati are actually in the raccoon family, and if you take a close look at her, you might notice some similarities. They do have a striped tail, a banded tail, and that tail is going to be really helpful for balance. So Dottie is going to spend a lot of time in the forest. They are native to the rainforests of South America, and many times in their life they're going to use trees to their advantage. They're going to climb up in the trees to find food. They're going to climb up in the trees to build a nest for their young to keep their babies safe, and they might even climb up in trees to avoid predators. So you can see Dottie's enclosure has a lot of logs and branches and platforms and places where she can explore all over to use her body in the way she would in the wild. So like raccoons, they climb a lot. They have excellent paws and claws for gripping bark and tree limbs. Something really cool about Coatis, though, is that they actually have rotating ankle joints. So if Dottie needed to climb down a tree, whereas many animals need to actually go down the tree butt end first or backwards, she could actually climb down the tree forwards with her head first because of her rotating ankles. You can see she's also got a really long body to stretch out. That helps her to get into places that might be tricky and hard to reach. And again, that tail, that long tail, is going to help her to balance when she's reaching out on the ends of branches. Now, on top of having that long tail and strong feet and good claws, she also has, again, an amazing nose. You can see that nose in action as she's searching out her food. And we'll have her come a little closer in just a little bit. You'll notice that her nose actually moves around back and forth to search under leaves and under rocks and bark, wherever she might think there could be a snack. So she can actually wiggle her nose independently from the rest of her face. And that's how she would track down her food in the wild. Again, they're going to eat a lot of insects or invertebrates, little critters living in the leaf litter. They might eat things like snakes and frogs as well, and then fruits and nuts. But that nose is their main sense that's going to help them track down their food and be successful. Now you can see she also is going to use her claws to reach into small places. They're pretty dexterous, so not only are those claws and hands helpful for climbing, but they're also good for reaching into small, hard-to-reach places after they found stuff with their nose. Now, Dottie came to the zoo a few months ago. She actually came to us right before the quarantine started. She came from another facility where she'd lived for a few years. She's about 4 years old, and she is full size. She won't get too much bigger than this. As a female, in the wild, Dottie would live in something called a band, a really big group of Coatis that could have up to 30 individuals. So normally, they're going to be pretty social animals. Dottie is no different. The main difference is she's pretty social with her keepers, with her people. So that's what makes her such a great addition to the zoo as an ambassador. She has lived near humans pretty much most of her life, so she understands that we pose no threat to her. And so one of our goals with Dottie is to help work with her so she can become a program animal. So not only will she be on exhibit at Elmwood Park Zoo, but she will also eventually go out and do different programs either here on the zoo or potentially off-site. So in order to do that, we do have to put a lot of time into making sure Dottie is comfortable, and that was part of the decision to move Dottie first out onto exhibit. We want to make sure she's comfortable in big groups of people. So seeing people walk by all day, hearing different voices, different sounds in the zoo, those are all things that help set her up for success as an ambassador. They get her ready for a lot of the things she might encounter while she's helping us to teach. And then this also gives us a chance to see what her natural skills are. How much does she climb? How well does she climb? Does she have a favorite place to hang out? A favorite food? It gives us a chance to get to know Dottie so that later we can put all that information together to create a training program for her. So not only do we use Dottie's food to enrich her by hiding it throughout her space in the zoo, we also use it to do some training. Now, we have only really started to do a few things with Dottie at this point. We're starting off slow to make sure both her and her keepers are comfortable. So some of the things we work on with her is crate training. Excuse me. You guys might have seen her come out of her crate right at the beginning. And another thing we work on with her is going to be targeting. So I'm going to try to show you guys a little bit of that. Let's see if we can get Dottie to come over. That was a freebie. There you go. So Dottie's just going to touch her nose to the target stick and get a little snack. Dottie. And this can be used to move her around the exhibit. It can be used to start other behaviors, like stationing, where we want her to go to a specific location. It's also just fun for her. Now you might notice she's very fast, so I have to work on my training skills too. But watch how her nose kind of moves towards that target. We'll see if we can get her to move it around in different directions. Oh, did you see something? Whoop. There you go. So this is just a basic behavior we started with Dottie. Eventually, like I said, we'd like to do some more things. We're thinking of doing some harness training and some other things that could help us excuse me, create a program for her in the future where she gets to meet guests up close. Not only is training good for that, but it also stimulates her again, just like the enrichment. It keeps her life exciting and gives her an opportunity to earn her food. That's a big part of what we try to do with not only our exhibit animals here at the zoo, but also our ambassadors. We want them to exhibit as much of their natural behavior as possible. We don't want them to be bored or lazy, things like that. We want them to be healthy both mentally and physically. Excuse me. So as she's exploring for more of those snacks, a few more things about Coatis. They are a little different from their raccoon counterparts in the fact that they are diurnal, so they're more active during the daytime. So you are more likely to see Dottie running around in the day here at the zoo than you would at nighttime, which is great for us. They're also going to be, like I said, very social as females, but the males are pretty much solitary. They spend a lot of time alone. Now, a female Coati could give birth to 2 to 4 babies, and when they do this, they're actually going to build a nest in a tree. So again, earlier I mentioned they use trees a lot in their life and in their habitat, and part of that is the fact that they are going to build a nest to keep their baby safe. Now those babies only need to spend about a month in that tree nest before they're able to walk around and kind of explore on their own. And that's important. They need to be strong and be able to run and climb because there are some predators, some other animals that might want to eat a coati. They live in the rainforest, so things like jaguars and ocelots, those big cats, things like harpy eagles and other large birds of prey, all of these different things could try to make a coati into a meal. So their young have to be ready to adapt and escape as soon as possible. Dottie. So you might notice as well that Dottie has a little bit of a band on her face. That's another one of her adaptations that's similar to a raccoon. And that long dark nose is actually part of where their name Coati comes from. So the word Coati is a native South American combination of two different words. The first part meaning belt and the second part meaning nose. So they're called belt-nosed basically because when they sleep, they actually tuck their nose, it's really cute, they tuck their nose into their belly area, and that's how they kind of keep themselves safe and protected and warm. So Coati means belt nose. And that nose, again, a really important part of their survival. You can see she's using that to work then to the enrichment there along with her hands. Not much goes unnoticed by a coati's nose. So we're going to see if we have any questions. I'll give you guys a chance. If you have anything you'd like to know about Dottie, feel free to put it into the comments. Remember, we are answering comments live on Facebook, or if you think of anything later on.
Is Dottie going to stay on the exhibit by Chris Dreyer?
All right, so we had a question. Is Dottie going to stay on exhibit? Yes, that is the plan. Great question. Thanks, Chris. So, like I said, part of her being on exhibit is to give her an opportunity to get used to all the different things she might encounter as an ambassador animal. So we want her to be used to all the sounds and the smells and the sights of living in the zoo. So being on exhibit really helps to keep her consistently comfortable, and she's a pretty fun animal to watch. It also gives us an opportunity to do interpretive program with her in front of the public before she comes out, because not every animal is suited for coming out into the public in program settings. So we want to make sure that we do the best by Dottie. So for her, it's more comfortable to be on exhibit and do some training than it is to see people up close outside of her exhibit. That's okay. As you can see, Dottie is very friendly. So I think that she really embraces her role as an ambassador and really enjoys helping us to teach. Now, why will we have a coati in the first place to help teach? Part of that is because they are native to South America and to the rainforest. Now, the brown-nosed coati, or the ring-tailed coati, or the South American coati, as Dottie is, they are thankfully a species of least concern. So that means that they're not really at risk in the wild right now, at least as a species. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't face challenges and risks. Unfortunately, their population does face challenges like habitat loss, just like any other animal in the rainforest. So that's something that by helping people learn about this animal that shares a habitat with many that are endangered or at risk, we can help to protect them. Do we have any other questions? All right. Dottie's doing a really nice job. You can see she's very attentive because she's now getting her favorite food, which is hard-boiled egg. Wow, that was a good try. All right, I'm going to give her the rest of her egg just right here in front of us so we can watch her kind of munch for a few minutes, and then we'll see about heading out for the day. Here you go, Dottie. So you can see that nose really wiggling around. Now, sometimes it takes Dottie a long time to find her enrichment food. Other times she comes out and she figures out where it is exactly. So we actually move everything around every day. We also give her scent enrichment so that she's not only just seeking out her food, but trying to find different smells as well. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining myself and Dottie today on Zoo School Live. Remember, if you are watching later on and you have any questions, anything you'd like to know about Dottie the coati, and her future role as an ambassador or just the species in general, please put those questions in the comments and I'll hop back on later to answer them. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Make sure you tune in on Thursday for our next episode of Zoo School Live, where we'll be meeting a very special animal friend who's also kind of new to our education department. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day.